Still looking at just pictures and comics up until Goosebumps. So you heard it here first. Goosebumps changed my life. Changed my life. It made me a reader. A reader. All right. Well, so thank you very much for having us, Kriss. There's a ton of comic book shops in Los Angeles, and came in here and just thought it was a wonderful, wonderful place and wanted to share it with everybody that we could. So we'll kick it off with you. You want to just give us some quick details about this place?
So yeah, we haven't been around for a super long time. Pulp Fiction's been in the Los Angeles area for maybe about like 6 years. I took over the shop about 2.5 years ago, and our big thing here has always been about doing discounts for graphic novels. Because a lot of ways that newcomers get into comics isn't necessarily through the floppies, but it's through, you know, the big collected editions, which are fucking expensive.
Yes,
we have to swear on this.
They can be.
By all means, swear away.
And so it's something that our previous owner, my old boss, worked really hard to get our discount down enough that we were able to kind of pass savings on to our customers. So that's always been our big thing, is being more of a discount comic book store. And then I took over and went, cool, let's also be a community center because I have no chill. So that's kind of where it's going once we're through pandemic.
Awesome.
Well, we love that, and you know, it's great that you're getting ready to come up with a bunch of community events and things like that for comic books, because I think that's one of the biggest questions everybody sort of has, is how do we bring more readers to comics, you know?
Well, and that's the thing, is the comic book community has always kind of felt like they want a clubhouse. They want to be a part of something. Unfortunately, it's always been a little gatekeepery and like boys-only clubhouse. At least that's how it's felt as like a female reader. And so for me, I kind of want to just expand that community atmosphere into kind of all aspects. Because look, if we want comics to continue, we need new readers. So that's why we have a really strong young readers section, because if I can get them young, then they'll be hooked for life and I'll have their money forever. But that's how you get new readers. You get them when they're young, when they're watching the cartoons and checking out the movies. And so there's a part of me that wants to kind of focus on those young readers and focus on the parts of our community that kind of been ignored, which is like the dudes, they're gonna come in, they're gonna find their comics, they're gonna be fine. They don't need like necessarily a safe environment, but the LGBT community and you know, the black and brown community and women, we all need a safer space for comics. So that's kind of been our goal. And so part of that is some of the community stuff of, we've got Comics Coven, which is an after hours, like all girls meetup type of thing.
Comics Coven? That's awesome.
They voted on the name. It was great. It took us 2 months of like pitching names and voting. But yeah, so Comics Coven is our female meetup group that we have. Right before the pandemic, we did our first comic book festival, which was our Jules Winfield Festival, which was all about black creators and comics.
I love the name.
Right? It is the only homage that we will do to the Pulp Fiction movie, because like I think that's the only thing that like bums me out a little bit, is we didn't change the name when I took over, but Pulp Fiction very much brings up Tarantino,
absolutely, and
that sort of thing. So
it kind of works for LA.
It does. It kind of works for LA. We have gotten the question of if Quentin Tarantino owns our comic book store. I've been like, no. I do want to do some rebranding, because my boss originally chose that name because he's not a movie dude. So the old owner originally chose that name because comics were called Pulp Fictions in the old days. So eventually we're going to do a slight rebranding where we're going to go more like 60s old school with like logo and colors, make it more like teal and a little bit more feminine. But if we stay here, then we'll still have our black ceiling and our fucking, you know, Lovecraftian red tubes coming out. So still be a little bit of that.
It's a fun vibe.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like eventually we want to do some gaming, but more with the idea of it's for beginners. Like we want to do a Magic the Gathering that's for people who are just starting to learn. Because going into those environments with people who know everything is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it can be.
It gets overwhelming.
So if you come into an area where you know everybody else is beginners, you can make new friends, you can learn the rules, and then you and your little new pack of friends who learned how to play Magic together can now go to those draft parties, and you have like a little core group that you can travel in a herd with that protects you.
Your first Pokemon gym that you go to.
Exactly.
I will say, it sucks when you're brand new and you come and a person just slaughters you in like 5 cards.
Right? There's nothing fun about that. Unless the person you're playing with is fun, but there's not always that guarantee. And so that's kind of a big goal for us, is to like make events and things like that that create a safer environment for people to come in, try things, get excited about stuff, and hopefully go out into the world and kind of spread that, as opposed to the like more gatekeeper.
Get out of your square.
What do you mean you don't know about this thing? You know, and we've done that with some of our customers. Our customers are great, but I will say, working here and not reading superhero comics when I started, made things a little bit difficult. But our customers are great, and so, you know, we've kind of grown together to have an environment that's more about talking about what you're excited about and not putting people down for what they don't know.
As it should be.
Exactly. That's the best moment where you're just like, oh shit, you don't know about this character? Let me tell you how amazing they are.
I can show you the world.
Read this. Here's that. You're gonna need a bag.
Exactly. It's the most fun you can have with comics, is getting somebody else into the thing that you're excited for. And I think that for a long time, comics have been a little bit too much about like, oh, come back when you know shit. Like, no. I will tell you about everything I know, because then you'll like the things I like.
And we can talk about it together.
Exactly.
What was one of your first memories of comic books? Like, was it at the supermarket? Was it at a comic book shop?
No, it was my dad. So we were always, our family was very big on like the Sunday funnies type of thing. So we kept bringing home, my dad kept bringing home books like the Foxtrot collections, Calvin and Hobbes. And then one year for Easter, he got my brother and myself greatest Batman stories ever told and greatest Superman stories ever told. And I loved those, and I read those both a lot. But I'm from Wisconsin, and I didn't know that comic book shops existed. Nobody told me. I just would go to Barnes & Noble, which in the 90s and early 2000s didn't have a super huge graphic novel.
No.
So I went manga. Because again, early 2000s, I'm watching Toonami and Sailor Moon, so I got really into reading all the mangas and stuff like that. Like, I'm that asshole college kid that went to Borders and just stood there and read manga because I had no money.
I know that.
And I slowly transitioned back to Western comics, but again, not through comic book stores. I did mainly trades and used sections. So I did Sandman initially because I'm a little sister, which means I do a lot of the things that my older brother does. So he really loved Neil Gaiman, so finding out that Neil Gaiman wrote comic books. And then I went to Skylight Books here in Los Angeles to find Sandman comics, and the guy behind the counter was exactly what I'm talking about here. He went, oh, you want to read Sandman? Have you checked out Fables? Have you checked out Unwritten? And I went home with a stack of books.
And all my money is gone.
So for me, it was all about trades. Like, I started coming here for the used section because everything was $5 and I had no money. So I was all about trades until a YouTube cartoon decided to do single issues, and I went, well, fuck. I need to go and find Bee and Puppycat single issues. I tried as long as I could to not be involved in single issues and just do trades. And then they made a really cute single issue, and I was fucked for life.
I'm screwed now.
So from moving from Wisconsin to, where did you go from there? Did you come straight to California?
No, I grew up in Wisconsin. I did 4 years in Chicago at Columbia University for fashion design. Moved out to Los Angeles to do costuming. And then wound up owning this place.
We all kind of do something backwards here.
Right?
During the moves, I always have a problem with it, just because, like, I have a big collection of art books and trade books and just coffee table books of just like a plethora of like different artists and combinations. And from your moves, have you just had to let go of certain things, or did you take everything in milk crates? Like, I've had to haul tens, hundreds of pounds of books, and it's like, do I really need all this? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So moving from, it was interesting because I never really had a lot of money for comics. I am so like, my dad was very into like supporting my like book, getting prose books, so I had a shit ton of those. But he would not buy me comics, and I didn't have a whole bunch of money for them. So when I moved out to Los Angeles, I did bring everything with me, but I don't hold on to a lot of stuff. I kind of especially have hit the point, since my husband is the type who wants to hold on to everything he's ever read ever. For me, I keep bringing so much shit into our house, books and comics and everything like that, that I have the rule that unless it has emotional meaning or inspires me creatively, I'm very happy to have read it, but it goes right back out the house. So a lot of my stuff doesn't stay in house unless it really hits me emotionally. Like I think I just read like the first 3 hardcovers of Giant Days, which is fantastic, and I went, this is great, to the used section with you. So yeah, because of how my husband collects, I parse down a lot to just ostensibly what I consider the essentials. So at this point, I have, for single issues, which I really don't do a whole bunch, I'm much more about trades because they're easier for me to find and read. And most of my favorite books do have chocolate milk stains, so I feel less bad about that being on a trade than a single issue. Like, you can tell if it's a favorite book if you go through and you're like, all right, grease stain, food stain, chocolate milk stain.
It's loved.
Yeah, I've read it a bajillion times. I read it while I'm eating. So yeah, the best loved books are in the worst care. So I would hate for that to happen for a single issue. So yeah, most of my stuff just goes out pretty quickly, with the exception of our horror single issues, because those are really hard to find, and I have hoarded those. I have like 4 copies of the same Friday the 13th comic because I keep not remembering if I have it, and so I just kind of keep bringing it home, and I'm like, all right.
I've got a few comics that are like that. What would you say is your prized possession in your personal collection?
So my prized possession, for me, there's a book called Lumberjanes, which is Girl Scouts at summer camp, and it was my first single issue comic that I kind of found on my own.
Okay.
So that was after I started my pull list here at Pulp Fiction, like, because being Puppy Cat and Sandman, I'd watched the cartoons, I had some already reference with it, but Lumberjanes was the first one that really, I went through the previews catalog and I went, this seems cool, so I'm very attached to it. But they did a Hamilton variant for a New York Comic-Con years ago, and I have 2 or 3 copies of that single issue because I've made friends with people at Boom and other customers and told them how much I love this variant, that they all went, cool, we really like you, so here's copies. So I've like 3 or 4, and so that's kind of my prized possession because it's not only my favorite book, but also kind of solidifies that I've made friends in the shop and in the industry.
You need to come in.
Yeah.
What are your favorite conventions to go to? Like Comic-Con? Do you go to Comic-Con?
So, Comic-Con is a death trap for me.
It's a death trap for a lot of people.
Mainly because, I started going to Comic-Con when I was still working for the previous owner, and we were always short-staffed, so I would go for a day, which means I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, drive down to pick up my badge, because they don't ship retailer ones, do all of the shopping for the store, getting exclusives and things that he had pre-ordered, and then drive back the same day.
Whoa.
5-hour energy does not work when you've been doing Comic-Con for 18 hours.
And you've got over 80,000 people at least to swim through to each booth.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like conventions. I haven't done a whole bunch because again, where I grew up, we didn't really have conventions. So I'm still kind of getting used to like those. I'm really bummed because last year was going to be the first year that I was going to go to conventions and be like, I own a comic book store. Would you like to have books in my shop? Do you want to be my friend? I'm a professional too. Let's be friends. And then the pandemic hit. I'm like, well, wah, wah. Because, like, I'm fine when I'm in the store because this is my space, but the moment you take me out of it, I am an anxious, nervous, do not like talking to people. So, for me, I think the ones that I've liked the most has been WonderCon, because that's been the only one that I've been able to relax at.
That's actually that's how Comic-Con should be. There's still breathing room, there's still space in between the booths, and it's relatively easy to get to, and, you know, like...
Plus, there's a tiki bar within walking distance.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Oh, I feel a little crazy. I gotta calm down with
Tiki
one
drink,
of this,
tiki drink.
these volcanoes.
And those are the ones. WonderCon's been the time that I've been able to go and get a hotel room and do a couple of days and not be stressed out and not almost die or crash my car. There's a special place in my heart for Anime Expo, even though I have never gone as an attendee. We've boothed there a couple of times, which means that I don't have to deal with like the craziness. I'm protected by a table.
You have your beachhead right there.
Exactly. I can just I can go around before everything opens and there's a whole bunch of people and scout out like what do I want to buy, and then once the doors open, I can like just go there and not have to worry about anything. And again, like being a kid of the 90s and the 2000s, anime has a real special place in my heart, even though I've abandoned it for a couple of years.
It's okay. You're allowed to come back.
I'll come back and watch more Sailor Moon. I won't watch the new stuff, apparently. I'll just watch the things I watched. Inuyasha is streaming. It's a terrible choice to make.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yep.
Do you ever check out Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or anything like that for comics or anything? Because there's a giant community that's making comics almost just strictly for Kickstarter and things like that.
It's one of the things I want to get a little bit more, keep a better eye on, because as it's been, we're still kind of operating a little bit on a skeleton crew, especially with like our trade-in section being as big as it is. We're always stretched a little thin, so I haven't been able to spend a whole bunch of time on it. There's a couple of artists or creators that I really like that like since I follow them on Instagram or Twitter, when they announce that they have a Kickstarter thing, and I go and check out their stuff. But kind of my hope is that we'll be bringing on a new full-timer soon, and I can actually start paying attention more to Kickstarter.
Got it.
For me, I want to find a better way to find local creators who are here specifically in Los Angeles. Because, again, being community, I would like to support Kickstarters, but I would prefer to support ones that are here local. That's my community, my people. Nothing against, like, East Coast creators or anything like that. But we do have a local creator section, so I do want to put it in there.
Absolutely.
But it's also something of like anytime somebody like links me to something, we do try to support the small creators that we can. So one day I'll have time.
One day.
Yeah, they show up sporadically because again my my old boss, the old owner, he's pretty much retired, so now he's just like on news sites. So every once in a while he'll send me a link, be like, "Hey, you should check this out." I'm like, all right, okay. I guess we're supporting this. Sure, why not?
I know you have a couple other events, but have you done any other grassroots events for indie developers or producers at your shop?
Not so much yet. We were just starting to do more like signings and things like that. So it's one of those things that, again, once we have our new full-timer, which we will have soon, a big hope for us is to get more entrenched in the local community and stuff like that. Do more signings and support more stuff. We're hoping to do almost like I'm trying to think of the word, like not artist commissions, but a spotlight for local artists. Ones who do, maybe they don't do like single issues, but they're like the artists you see at Artist Alley who have pins and keychains and stuff like that. So we're hoping to do like rotating spotlights with creators so that we can be like, cool, you've got a space here, we'll feature you for like a month, you know, we'll buy all your stuff, and then next month we'll move on to somebody else, and then hopefully be doing a lot more signings. Because right now it's basically, if people reach out to us and they're like, can I come sign at your shop? We're like, Yeah, sure. Here's the days that are best. You let us know what you want to do. We'll put you in our newsletter. We used to try to do, when we would do signings, we'd get a collection we'd buy from the artists, so we could do giveaways on Instagram for people who couldn't make it to the signings. They could still get stuff or support the artists. But with pandemic, everything kind of changed. Wibbly, and we're trying to figure out how we can do, when we want to do signings again, in a way that's going to be like responsible with everything going
people
on.
And everything.
Exactly.
Do you have a vetting process, or what you like to see an artist or a creator show you before they just show up and want to do a signing?
Right now, not so much. I mean, generally, all of our creators who've reached out to us will send us sample work. I don't think there's really been too many people that we've turned away. I would like to get to a point where we're getting enough interest that we can start vetting people, and then it'll basically kind of come down to like, does their work align with the goals of the shop about being inclusive? And I'm not saying that the artists or creators have to have an inclusive comic. It just can't be like racist, misogynistic, or homophobic. As long as it's not those things,
then
that's fine. That's totally fine. Yeah, that's kind of my big thing. We don't have enough people that we're supporting right now to like have any kind of limitations. And honestly, for me, when we bring artists in and stuff like that, it's up to them to sell their work. We give them the space, but it's been interesting watching. Some people have really good booth sales. They're really good about talking to customers and getting them engaged. And there's others who just kind of like sit there, and I'll be like, talking about customers, like, you should go check out that booth, and they're like, that person's not really I don't know.
Buy my stuff?
Yeah. So a lot of times it kind of comes down for me more about the creator of like, we'll give you the space, but you've got to be able to sell your work and sell your product. So yeah, I think our only thing is just like, as long as you're not a dick to us or a dick in your comic, there's a good chance we'll carry you with like a very like bare minimum of like, as long as it doesn't look like a third grader like drew it and then like Xeroxed it. Granted, if a third grade child comes in and they're like, we've got a comic, I'll be like, you know what? Yes, you're a small child trying to do comics. Absolutely. So yeah, I think very low standards right now. Low standards. But I don't know. It'll be fun. Again, I'm hopeful once pandemic clears and everything like that. I mean, not going to clear. Once it gets a little bit better, we can start pursuing and having more signers kind of coming in. And I think we'll pretty much stick to small local creators. I don't have a huge interest in really reaching out to bigger people, except for things like our Pride Festival or Jules Winfield, because they don't necessarily need help.
Yeah.
Like, if they're interested in coming and doing stuff here, awesome, great, that'd be exciting. But we're not going to pursue those people. We're going to be pursuing small local creators who need the attention and the tabling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, I mean, I know that you don't have a ton of back issues and stuff like that, but you have an awesome 50-cent section, dollar section, which in my eyes, like, I like bringing people into comic shops and then just sort of putting them near the $1.50 comic book and just being like, go nuts, and eventually you'll figure out something that you want. But aside from that, I know you have some other back issues that are a little more limited and stuff. This is not quite the place for, say, the speculator market or anything like that, but do you get people coming in sort of...
Yeah, I mean, speculators are everywhere.
Yeah.
The speculators have been a really interesting thing to get used to, because as a shop, because we love comics and we want comics to go into the hands of people who love them, we don't really like speculators. But we do have them, and generally my rules with them is a lot of them will sign up for pull lists, and the rule is, like, you want to order 10 copies of something because you think it's going to be the next hot book, cool, let me know before order cutoff, and you can have that many. But if you let me know afterwards, fuck no, I need those copies for my shelf. When it comes to like back issues and stuff like that, look, it's a good marketplace right now. All the back issue stuff, everything's like bumping up. Like a year ago, you could get Dark Horse Star Wars comics for $1 because nobody gave a shit. And then Disney came out with its announcement, and all of that went super up. And honestly, for a shop like ours, that type of stuff, it's higher profit margin, and I don't mind the speculators when it comes to that stuff because it's just like, cool, come in, spend the money, and then you're not touching my new issue, so all the people who want to get those,
they can get them.
Yeah, and it's, you know, for any shop, having a back issue marketplace is your best profit margin.
Okay.
So it does well for us to kind of support it because the capitalist side comes out and we make more money. I like making money off of speculators.
You know,
exactly.
We gotta pay rent, we gotta buy more comics, we gotta invest in more community events and so on and so forth.
The more speculators spend on our back issues and stuff like that, the more we can move forward with kind of these other programs that we want to do. Because they give us their money.
It seems like the big two, for the most part, that it seems to me like for the most part they're doing this variant cover thing where you have to buy a whole crap ton to get one copy of the variant cover and everything else, and that seems to be driving a speculator market in and of itself. But how tough is that on you as a business who, you know, you want to make these comics available to people, and then you've got a 1 in 50 variant, you know, and all that.
So for me, with the variants and stuff like that, that has a tendency to be a very specific market who cares about that. And how I do my ordering is I don't give a fuck about variants.
Okay.
Well, because at the end of the line, it does come down to, if you end up ordering more to get that variant, there's no guarantee that variant's going to move.
Yeah.
So
it's like micro catering to that one guy who's looking for that one thing.
Who may or may not get it, or sometimes we've had people who want variants who ask for something and then they come in and they don't quite have the money to actually pay for that variant. So they go, oh, the quality's not as good as like any type of thing. So my old boss and owner used to try to be more mindful of variants. For me, if we're within like a couple of issues of like qualifying for a variant, then I'll get it. Especially when it comes to Marvel and DC. If we aren't, then fuck it, it's not worth me to get those extra copies to get something. The indie market is doing something really smart with that because they're doing returnability.
Okay.
So like Boom and Image are doing stuff for like their number ones and even into like their 2 and 3s, and they're doing it to kind of like help small businesses with pandemic, and it seems like they're just keeping it where they're letting you return books that you haven't sold like a couple of months down the line. So sometimes that means like there'll be a book where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be good or not. I don't know how people are going to feel about it, but it's got returnability, so I'll order more. I'll qualify for more variants, and we have more of that stuff. And if it ends up bombing, which about half of them do, then you just chuck them all back, and it works out. So with that, we get more variants from more of the indies just because of me being able to return things.
That's awesome to hear. I didn't actually know that. I just know that that for the most part, it seems to me that that really the only shops that can even qualify for those kind of variants are sort of chain shops that have 4, 5, 6, 7 things. So you know, they're ordering for all these stores at once, but you know, still.
We had Venom 35 came out this week, which was the 200th issue of Venom, and I had somebody ask, like, are you getting the 1 in 500? You're getting the 1 in 1,000? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not. I'm not getting that. So there are some of those variants that really only those really big stores are getting. And the small stores that are getting them know that they're going to have so much
They're breaking their back,
and so, you know, the variant game, and look, sometimes you'll look at a variant and it'll be priced at like, let's say $100 the week it comes out. You look at it a week or two later, it's down to $50 or $40 because people cared in the week that it came out but they don't care afterwards. So it's
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like I'm bummed because Hellfire Gala is going on, and we ordered more copies just because it's an event book, and so we happen to qualify for the like 1 in 50 design variants, and nobody cares. Those variants are so pretty, and no one cares, and it's just like that's kind of the reminder that the variant game, it's worth playing if you're on the customer side of it, trying to track it down, but as a retailer,
I know there's a couple that I've hunted down from certain artists who have collaborated with the comic book creators who are like, I love that guy as an illustrator and a painter, and he did a variant cover of this comic, and I want that as like a print, and it just so happens to be a comic. I'll frame it and I'll put it on my wall. And that's rad.
Well, and you also have the thing now that like Marvel and DC and some indies are moving to do exclusive variants with specific stores and everything like that. Like, look, I don't really read X-Men, but Unknown Comics, which is an online place, did magazine variant covers. And they're so fucking cool. And like, as a fashion person, I'm like, okay, I need those. So like the whole variant game has become kind of a mess that's really hard to keep track of.
Yeah,
Marvel just put out this one series of Ultraman, and I was at my local comic book shop and I was picking them up, and I thought I was collecting 2 different series that was coming out at the same time because there were so many different variants of the first 4 or 5 issues that it was like 15, 20 books, and floppies. And I was like, wait, like as soon as I got to the counter, the guy behind the counter was like, it's all the same story, right? I'm like, what? No, I did not know that.
Marvel's notorious for that. With Venom, there's 12 B covers.
Yeah.
12 fucking B covers. Like, Marvel's notorious for that. DC, luckily, is like scaled back. They just do an A cover and a B cover, and then if it's something special, like Pride has a C cover that's a Pride variant. But like, yeah, Marvel's notorious, just like, aha, tricked you. You bought 8 copies of the same book because all the covers are different.
I'm not gonna lie, I love my back issues and things like that, and I do collect like single issues, and I have been a sucker on the variant game a few times, but it's got to be a comic that I really like for me to want all those variant covers. But
they're pretty.
They are, but it's also getting to a point, at least when I was younger and I was collecting comics as a teenager, it seemed that variant covers only came for some special reason, right? So it's number 25 or number 50 or so and so dies or something like that.
Re-release,
yeah, something like that. And that was usually only when there was a variant cover, and you would only get like one. But now it seems like there's a variant cover for everything all the time, and just completely arbitrary.
90% of books have B covers now. Like, that's the new standard in the industry of like, there's always going to be like a B cover. And then ratio variants. Boom's gotten really big into most of their titles have a 1 per store that comes out. They used to be really popular, and now nobody cares.
Do you think, like, do you think that just oversaturates the market? Like, similar to like in the 70s and the 80s when Kenner came out with the Star Wars action figures. Like, it was like, okay, this first line, okay, I got the Jawa, I got R2-D2, and it was like 1 edition. But then it soon like evolved into every single release was like a special edition with a coin, foil, and like nothing was special anymore.
Look, I like having A and B covers because then we get to see different artist takes, which is really cool. It's where we're seeing some of these companies kind of choose to go with somebody that they wouldn't normally hire to do covers. So I think that's really cool. The ratio variants and stuff like that, yeah, that can get a little excessive or weird. And look, if you're going to do a variant, make it something worthwhile. As long as it's worthwhile, I'm 100% down for it because everybody likes different things.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'll get a ratio variant that'll be like, it's a virgin cover. I'm like, oh cool, so it just doesn't have any words on it? Get fucked. Who gives a shit about that? That's a 1 in 5. Like, if you're gonna do a variant, make it worthwhile, make it different artwork, make it cool, because then it appeals to a broader base. You might have somebody who might not have picked up a book because they didn't like the A cover, but the B cover was really cool, and that grabbed their attention. Or their favorite artist happened to be doing the B cover, so they picked it up just to support that artist, and then they read the book, and then they went, "Oh, this book is really cool. Maybe I'll read more." So. Look, I have a lot of the B covers for Lumberjanes. I'm totally down for B covers as long as they're worthwhile and they're not just like pointless knockoffs. Because that's also like Stray Dogs is doing horror movie homage variants, and they're awesome. Deceased did that, so it's cool getting to see all these things that is coming into comics that's a little bit different. That's fun and appeals to a different crowd. Also, as a shop, I get more money. So as a shop, I don't hate it because I get more money.
Hate on that.
So there's a slight capitalist part of it too.
Yeah.
So what what 3 current issues are on your shelves that you're really excited about and love to tell people about? I know that's probably a hard question. It's limited at 3.
We chose
some.
Metabarons was my choice, but Save Yourself and Hawkeye.
So Save Yourself is a new #1, which I really like. Boom was one of my first publishers that I really like because they did Lumberjanes. So Save Yourself is for me kind of a return to Lumberjanes and Backstagers. All these things I used to really love about Boom. It's magical girls. It's super bright colored. It's queer as fuck, which is awesome. They're shark monsters, and I love sharks. It basically everything I love is in that book.
all
It's
in
made
there.
for me.
Yeah, it's a super fun one, and what's really cool is it's like, what if magical girls that came from another universe weren't the good guys we think they are? So I think it's doing a fun play on magical girl stuff, which is really cool. Hawkeye especially me because I starchly refused to read superhero comic books for a really long time, and then my friend was just like, look, Hawkeye did this issue that's all from the dog's point of view, and I was just like, all right, I guess I'll check this out. And Hawkeye basically introduced me to my favorite type of male character, which is chaotic, dumb as shit, heart of gold. So I love Clint Barton so much, and by proxy ended up loving Red Hood because also chaotic as shit, heart of gold will murder you. I apparently just like chaotic boys that are constantly bleeding or bruised. So yeah, the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye is still one of my favorite superhero runs. I'm trying to think about what else is like new that's out right now because I read all the new #1s every week, and then they all just kind of become
Blend.
a blur.
How do you keep track of your collection? I know there's like for graphic novels you can kind of do it through Goodreads, but there's like different collector applications or even websites that you can keep your.
Again, I am a weird comic book person because I don't collect a whole bunch. So, we have our used section. So I process all of our used trades. So anytime a trade comes through that I'm like, oh, I've been meaning to read that, I just yoink it and I library borrow it. Like
put it back.
Yeah, like the Wonder Twins, both those trades came through. I really like that writer, which I think is Mark Russell, because he did Prez for DC a long time ago, which never got to get finished because none of the things I like get to have an ending.
Right.
So for me, again, a lot of my trades come in and out, so I just read the things that interest me that come through our trading post. So my reading is scattershot for my personal side. Single issues, my employees got me hooked on, I think it's called CLZ Comics, which is an app. So I use that to keep track of the very limited amount of single issues I'm trying to hunt down, which is Friday the 13th and Jurassic Park, and some Lumberjanes covers that I'm missing.
I need 4 more copies of this one Friday the 13th.
No, I need no more copies of that one, but if it comes through, I will take it because I'm a monster. But yeah, I use that to keep track of the handful of single issues that I'm looking to complete my collection, and then with the new #1s, I just take them home and I read them, and then eventually that #1 I really liked will come through the trading post, and I'll yoink it. Like that's what I did for Teen's Department of Truth, because I really I think it's funny that everybody really likes him for his Something is Killing the Children and now Nice House on the Lake.
The Lake, yeah.
I read him because he was doing Backstagers, which was the male equivalent of Lumberjanes. So bright colored, queer as fuck boys being Backstagers. And now he's got Wind, which is a great all ages like adventure book. So like I know all of his all ages stuff, and people are like, have you checked out his horror stuff? And I'm like, I'm sorry, my brightly colored boy is doing horror, which is also fantastic. Like Something is Killing the Children is a great horror book.
That's got a lot of buzz on it right now.
It's like, I really like Something is Killing the Children. I think it's better in trade because when you get a good chunk of it. Same thing with Department of Truth. It's a really cool, complicated story, but sometimes trades are better for complicated. I might be biased though, because that's been my entire collecting.
There are definitely certain comics that if I get it, I just want to keep plowing through it as I read.
The flow of reading it and being able to keep it going.
And I have run into certain comics though that I very much only want to read one issue. I'll come back for another issue tomorrow, and then but I find that, you know, that's one of the great things about trades. I can keep plowing through the day, you know, when I want to.
It's the thing. I love superhero comics because they're really good and easy for that monthly kind of thing, because the storylines are good but not overly complicated.
Just need that hit.
Yeah, so
just need that hit.
Yeah, they're great for that. And as opposed to a lot of the indies, which I think are these really cool, complicated stories, but sometimes when you have to read it month to month, you get it the next month and you're like, what the fuck happened last month? Shit, I gotta go find that issue. Luckily for me, I am not on top of my reading, so I just go into my pile and find 3 copies because apparently I haven't read the book in 3 months.
I had a moment where, I forget which comic series it was, but I was like on number 3, and then like life happened, I got busy, work and other projects going, and then I went back and they're like on issue 20. I'm like, what? No! Oh God! Where are the back issues?
You know, for me, that's why I like having a pull list or subscription, because then, look, you like a book, you don't have to worry about when the fuck that book comes out. You just have to remember to come in and get your shit, and then it can just sit on your coffee table, and then eventually when you have time, you can work your way through it. Right? I don't know. That's not a concept I'm familiar with anymore.
What is time?
There's so many unread books that I have.
Yep.
But I still continue to buy more.
You can't not. You don't ever want your to-read list to be empty. Yeah. Because then what's the point of living? And then you go to a bookstore and you get more books.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever gonna be done with my pile.
No.
It just keeps growing.
I want to die with a pile next to me of just like, these are her unread books.
I might be upset that I didn't read those books at that point though. Like, God, dang it.
Look, if the afterlife doesn't have a library, what's the point?
Yeah, what is the point? What is the point? So who are just a few of your favorite artists?
I am a trash person who's not good about names, so I looked this up. I looked up artists so that I would know who to talk about. One of my favorites right now, I'm really excited she's doing interiors, is Peach Momoko.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, I'm a manga person.
Demon Days,
yeah.
Right?
It's really cool getting to see her do interiors now because her artwork is gorgeous.
It is.
But it's also my hope because before she was doing Marvel stuff, if you look back on her website, she's got some really cool horror shit.
She was doing covers all over the place, too.
Yeah, she still kind of is. She's still got like a handful out there that she's doing. But yeah, I'm glad to see her do interiors because I'm like, cool. Can an indie company pick her up? Can she do a horror book?
Her stuff looks great, but I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel's locked her down.
Definitely for a bit. I'm hopeful they'll release her. Just
let her go, Marvel. Let her go.
Let her do a horror thing, or your next Marvel Zombies. Also, let her do Marvel.
That'd be
Zombies.
Cool.
So I like her a lot. I like Tyler Crook, who did the interiors for Harrow County, which is beautiful and watercolor and gorgeous. And then I start forgetting names. I know those too. There's a manga artist called Aigazawa, which has a special place in my heart because she does a lot of fashion stuff. So she was a huge inspiration for me, like as a kid. But she got sick and hasn't come back to manga in a while. But her artwork's really kind of cool if you like fashion stuff. And then after that it becomes, I don't know. I'll just look at something and be like, this is pretty. This is great. Because Because yeah, for me, if you're doing basically brightly colored art, Babs Tarr does it a lot, Jen Bartel does it a lot. Basically, any of those artists who are doing modern Lisa Frank, that's what I'm generally attached to. Either that or really cool, interesting horror artwork. Because like I like Junji Ito a lot, and Peach Momoko. Just cool.
Do you have a
horse.
preference for digital versus pencil and ink?
Not particularly, because I'm shitty and I can't tell the difference. I'm a bad comic book owner because I'm just kind of like, I like reading books. I read the books. I don't know the names.
This one is
pretty.
great.
Yeah.
You like what you like. Hey, this looks cool. I don't care what
You
it
know,
is.
I think both of them require a different skill set to actually be really good. So, as somebody who cannot draw at all beyond stick figures, anybody who's capable of doing that, whether it's digital or pencil, is impressive. I do have a tendency to lean towards, if someone's done actual watercolor, kind of again like Tyler Crick's artwork, then I think that's really cool and different. As long as your style is different and unique,
Yeah.
awesome. I don't care how you do it. It's pretty. I support you. You did
awesome.
pretty.
Awesome. That's a good answer.
I love it.
It's a really good answer. Let's see. But I think we covered pretty much everything.
We've hit on a lot. I mean, I guess we can say, give us a couple of your favorite writers, and
Again, I Googled. I Googled.
we want to give you a chance to use that Google information.
So one of my favorite writers right now is Kelly Thompson.
Oh, okay.
She's been roaming around Marvel. They just
Yeah.
kind of keep pitching her like different things. She created Jeff the Land Shark, who is the best. Jeff the Land Shark is the best.
I do like Jeff the Land Shark.
But she brings a lightness to her superhero books that I think is really kind of nice. Again, if I want a serious storyline, I go to my indies. And I read James Tynion, or I read Cullen Bunn, or any of those guys. But when I do superheroes, I want something a little bit more fun and lighter. So I loved her West Coast Avengers run. Her Rogue and Gambit stuff was great. So she does really fun, interesting things. So she's who I look at for superhero stuff. And anytime Mark Russell winds up in the superhero things, they don't let him do very much. But he did the Flintstones run, and Prez, and Wonder Twins. And Wonder Twins is great because it calls out the prison system and like shitty like dude bros, and like it calls out all of this stuff while you have the Wonder Twins going through puberty. Like
Wow, okay.
it's super fun. So yeah, I like both of them. And then Cullen Bunn has done so much, but he did my favorite horror book, which is Harrow County.
Okay.
So anytime he's on a new project,
You're gonna check it out.
well, he's done so much, so it's hit or miss. Like
He did Sixth Gun, didn't he?
I believe so. Yeah.
Because I dig those. Those are pretty fun.
He also did the Pumpkinhead comic book.
I didn't
There's
know
a
that.
Pumpkinhead
I didn't
comic
know that.
book.
No, that either.
And that's the thing that I kind of like about him is he's got such a really wide range of stuff, and it's hit or miss if it's going to be great or just solid. But he's always
True.
at least solid. It's
Yeah.
at least entertaining. Like
Yeah.
I don't think there's been one that I've been like, oh, Colin, what did you
I
do
hate this.
here?
I hate this.
And then there's a writing team that I check out anything that they're doing, which is Bob France and Kevin Cuff, because they did Metal Shark Bro, which is my favorite shark comic, which beat out Grizzly Shark, which is impressive.
I'm learning about so many shark comics right
I'm
now.
all the
I know
sudden
all the shark comics, and they're awesome
We're
because they're
gonna
my
have to
favorite
do-
animals.
We are gonna have to do a special just shark comic dive
There's-
with you, because
We do Shark Week on our Instagram every year.
yes. Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, Metal Shark Bro is super fun because it's ridiculous and over the top. It's about a shark who eats a bro who fell in the ocean, but that bro owed his soul to the devil, and the devil shows up and it's just like, fucker, that was mine. Now you have to go and collect souls, and it turns him into like an anthropomorphic shark, which he's very unhappy about. And then he goes, and it's bloody and it's insane, and he fights a robo-pope, and there's ninja nuns
Do you
who got
have
their
copies
own
of that
spin.
here?
Yeah,
Fuck yeah, I
I'm
do.
taking one home. I'm taking one
You gotta
home.
get some.
Yeah.
That is a
Met-
tasty sauce.
It's really it's bonkers and over the top and amazing, and I just really love Metal Shark Bro. And so they've done that one, and then a sequel, Metal Shark Bro, and then they did a one shot for their ninja nuns, and it's just yes, please give me insane, multicolor, like blood-splattered adventures that have sharks.
This is coming home with me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sitting with us and chatting about the business and telling us more about your awesome store. We're big fans, and we're definitely going to be in more often, and we would love to be able to come in and check in with you every now and then and chat
Yeah.
more comics and other cool stuff.
Of course, I will maybe learn more names. I will not. Names escape me.
Well, you
You'll
might
have to
have
give us-
You'll have
shark
to
titles for us.
I will
so
always have more shark titles.
We're very excited
Yeah.
about that. So yeah, once again, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank
We're
you
going to
very
be
much.
sure to list all of your information, where the store is at, and everything in the video. So
you.
if anybody has any questions, and if anybody needs any kind of trade paperback, graphic novel, comics, hey, if you're a comic fan, I highly recommend that you come in here because it's just a great space.
It's
So-
Thank you.
Space.
Thank you so
so-
much, guys.
all right, thank you very much.
you.
and- Woo, good.